They call her Duchess before she has time to stop them. Your Grace. The title lands softly, almost politely, spoken by a court attendant whose eyes are already lowering in deference. The words register a second too late, long enough for silence to ripple outward like a dropped stone. She freezes. The Duke seated beside her does not. He continues to read the document in his hand, one gloved finger holding his place as though nothing unusual has occurred. No Gerechchen. No glance in her direction. Nothing. Her heart pounds. She begins, then stops. Across the chamber, heads tilt. Expressions sharpen. People are watching now, not with curiosity but assessment. The kind that decides where a person belongs in the hierarchy before they speak again. The attendant clears his throat, confused. Shall I bring refreshments to the Duchess's preference? The Duke finally looks up. Tea, he says calmly. She prefers it plain. She turns to him sharply. I've never. He does not look at her. Taken sugar. He finishes, voice even. Yes. The attendant bows and withdraws. The door closes. The room exhales. She stares at the Duke, pulse hammering. You didn't correct him, she whispers. No, he replies. That was a mistake. Yes. You should have. I could have, he agrees. The way he says it makes her stomach tighten. And yet, she says, you didn't. No. She looks around the chamber. Marble floors. High windows. The quiet authority of a place where words carry weight long after they're spoken. You let them think I was your wife. The Duke sets the document aside with deliberate care. I let them assume you belonged, he corrects. That's worse. His gaze lifts then, steady, unblinking. Is it? The misunderstanding spreads faster than she expects. By the time they leave the chamber, servants are already adjusting their tone. Doors open without question. People step aside. Conversations lower when she passes. She does not belong here. Not really. And yet the world is rearranging itself as if she does. You need to fix this, she says quietly as they walk the long corridor. Yes, he replies. Now. He stops. The sudden halt nearly sends her into him. He turns slowly, facing her fully. No, he says. Her breath catches. No. No, he repeats calmly. You can't jest. I can, he says. And I have. Her chest tightens. Why? He studies her for a moment longer than necessary. Because you did not deny it. She stiffens. I didn't have time. You had enough, he replies. You chose silence. That's not consent. No, he agrees. But it is acceptance. She opens her mouth, then closes it again. He steps closer, not invading her space, but near enough that his presence becomes inescapable. You were seated beside me by error, he continues. You were addressed incorrectly. You remained. I didn't want to cause a scene. And now, he says quietly, you won't have to. The implications settle heavy and cold. You're using me, she says. Yes. The honesty of it steals her breath. And what exactly are you using me for? He tilts his head slightly. Stability. She laughs once, sharp and disbelieving. You're Duke. You have plenty of that. I have power, he corrects. Not insulation. Her smile fades. You're trying to deflect something. Yes. What? He does not answer. That evening, the assumption becomes official. A dinner is announced. Seating arranged. Her name, paired with his, appears where it should not. She finds him in his study, standing before the fire, coat already removed. This has gone too far, she says. You need to correct them. I will, he replies. When? When it stops serving its purpose. And until then? Until then, he says. You are my Duchess in all but truth. Her pulse races. That's reckless. No, he says calmly. It's contained. She folds her arms tightly. You're treating my reputation like a tool. Yes. And what happens when this blows back on me? He meets her gaze steadily. It won't, he says. Because I will not allow it to. You can't control everything. No, he agrees. But I control this. She searches his face for arrogance. Finds none. Only calculation. You didn't even ask me, she says quietly. He considers that. You're right, he says. I didn't. And that doesn't bother you? It does, he replies. But urgency required action. She exhales shakily. You don't even know what this costs a woman. I do, he says. Which is why I chose one who could withstand it. She stiffens. You chose me. Yes. Why? Because you do not collapse under attention, he says. You analyze it. Her fingers curl at her sides. And if I say I won't play along, then I will correct the assumption immediately, he says. Publicly. And the fallout? He answers honestly. You will be questioned, examined, speculated upon. Her throat tightens. And if I stay silent, then you will be protected from all of that, he replies. At the cost of temporary misidentification. Temporary, she repeats. Yes. She studies him. You're not lying, she says. No. You're just dangerous. Yes, he agrees quietly. Dinner is a study in restraint. She is introduced without correction. Toasts are raised. Polite remarks made. She smiles when required. Speaks when addressed. The Duke watches her with careful attention. Not possessive, not indulgent. Evaluative. When a man leans too close, the Duke shifts slightly. Nothing more is needed. Later, alone in the carriage returning to his estate, the silence thickens. You didn't have to enjoy that, she says. I didn't, he replies. Then why do you look satisfied? Because it worked. She turns toward him. What did? The pressure eased, he says. The attention redirected. And I was the shield. Yes. Her voice lowers. For how long? He considers her in the dim light. Until the court stops asking questions, he says. Or until you ask me to stop. She holds his gaze. And if I do, I will end it, he says. Immediately. She searches for hesitation. There is none. And you'll let me walk away? Yes. Without consequence? He answers carefully. Without retaliation, he says. But not without memory. Her breath catches. That sounds like a threat. No, he replies. It's an acknowledgement. The carriage slows. They arrive at his estate. As she steps down, servants already waiting, already deferential. The truth settles fully into place. She did not correct the misunderstanding. And the Duke did not either. Which means whatever happens next is no longer a mistake. It is a choice. And he is waiting to see which one she makes. By morning, the court has decided. Not formally, not unanimously, but decisively. She learns this not through announcement but through absence. No one questions her presence at breakfast. No one hesitates before addressing her. The title is no longer tested, it is assumed. Servants anticipate her preferences. Schedules adjust around her without discussion. The Duke watches all of it with quiet focus. You did this very quickly, she says as they stand near the windows overlooking the inner courtyard. Yes. You knew they'd accept it. I knew they would prefer certainty over correction, he replies. People do not like gaps in power. She exhales. And I filled one. You stabilized it, he corrects. She turns to him. By becoming a lie. No, he says calmly. By becoming plausible. The distinction unsettles her. She insists on understanding. Not the mechanics. Not the politics. The reason. That afternoon in his private study, she closes the door herself. Tell me the truth, she says. Not the useful version. The Duke does not sit. There is a faction within the court, he begins, that has been waiting for weakness, for an opening to suggest instability in my household. And a wife closes that, she says. Yes. But you don't have one. No. She meets his gaze. Until yesterday. Yes. Silence stretches. You could have invented someone, she says. They would have tested her, he replies. Immediately. And me. You were already present, he says. Already accepted. Already observed. She swallows. So I was convenient. Yes. The honesty stings, but it does not surprise her. And now, she asks, what happens when they realize I'm not real? He studies her carefully. They won't, he says. Her breath stills. That wasn't the agreement. No, he agrees. It wasn't. And yet you're saying it anyway. Yes. She steps closer, anger sharpening her spine. You told me this was temporary. It was, he says. Until it wasn't. That's not how consent works. No, he agrees quietly. It's how consequence does. She searches his face for apology. There is none. Only resolve. You've crossed a line, she says. Yes. And you're not sorry. No. That hurts more than she expects. She considers leaving. Truly. She packs a small bag. Walks the grounds alone. Stands at the gates longer than necessary. The guards do not stop her. They simply wait. She returns at dusk. The Duke is exactly where she expects him to be. You came back, he says. Yes. Why? She exhales slowly. Because walking away doesn't erase what's already been said. No, he agrees. It rarely does. And because, she continues, I realize something uncomfortable. He waits. They didn't believe I was your wife because you let them, she says. They believed it because I fit. Something flickers behind his eyes. Go on. I wasn't treated as an imposter, she says. I was treated as inevitable. The silence deepens. You were, he says. That is why I chose you. She meets his gaze steadily. You're asking me to make the lie real. Yes. To stay. Yes. To accept a position I never sought. Yes. And if I refuse, then I will correct the court, he says. Publicly. Immediately. And the fallout? You will endure it, he says honestly. And I will not interfere. She nods slowly. That's the first cruel thing you've said. No, he replies. It's the first unprotected truth. That night she does not sleep. By dawn she has decided. They stand together before the full court later that morning. The murmurs hush as they enter. She feels the weight of eyes, expectation. Narrative already written. The Duke turns to her slightly. You may still walk away, he says quietly. She looks out at the room. At the certainty they crave. At the power they have already handed her. Then back at him. I won't, she says. A ripple moves through the chamber. The Duke speaks. My wife and I, he says calmly, will be departing court for a period of seclusion. No one questions the phrasing. No one dares. Later, alone finally, she faces him. You didn't ask, she says. No. But you waited. Yes. She exhales. I don't know if this will ever be love. I did not promise love, he says. I promised permanence. She studies him. You will never let me be small. No. You will never let me be invisible again. No. And if one day I leave, he answers without hesitation, then you will leave as someone who was chosen, he says. Not mistaken. She steps closer. Then I will stay, she says. Not because they believe it, but because I do. Something settles between them then. Not romance. Not triumph. Alignment. Weeks later, the story is no longer whispered. It is established. And the Duke, who once allowed a mistake to stand, never corrects anyone again. Because the woman seated beside him is no longer a misunderstanding. She is the truth that replaced it.